Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So last week I reviewed the Scream Factory release of the Amityville Horror remake from 2005 on 4K. That same day, another 4K title came out from Scream Factory, and I wasn't going to pick it up at first, but it was calling to me. I had to do it. I'm talking, of course, about The Boy. This is a movie that I have seen more times than probably anybody needs to at this point. I saw it in theaters with my buddy when it was brand new. I liked it. He didn't like it at all. I watched it again once it hit Netflix. I purchased it on Blu-ray, but I've not opened it. You can see my copy is still sealed. Don't need that one anymore, but we'll talk about that as we work through here. So let's talk about my thoughts on the film and the disc itself. Let's not waste any time at all. Let's dive right into my 4K review of Scream Factory's release of The Boy. Let's take a real quick look at what you're getting if you decide to buy this one. So this also comes with a nice looking slipcover here and on the back, and make special note all the new on the special features, tons here, but we'll talk about those a little bit later. On the inside, it's going to be the exact same thing, so nothing special there. I'll open it up and you can see we have our Blu-ray disc, which is flipped around here. That is bugging me. That's the 4K disc. There we go. We got our Blu-ray disc and our 4K disc, which they both have art on them, which looks really nice. Unfortunately, just like Amityville Horror, no reversible cover art. So not too much going on here, but I think it's totally fine for what it is. So that's what you're getting if you decide to pick this one up. Let's talk real quick about the movie itself. So this is one, like I said, I've seen more times than probably anyone needs to, but I watched this in theaters back in 2016, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars according to my Letterboxd. And from there, I watched it on the Netflix Instant Queue, and now, of course, on this 4K release, which technically I watched through twice due to that commentary track. So that's 4 times. There are so many movies I've yet to see once, yet I've seen The Boy 4 times, so there's clearly something wrong with me. But anyway, with The Boy, we are following, let me first mention, I always forget that this is a spoiler-free review. This is a film you do not want to be spoiled if you've never seen it, so please keep that in mind. This is a spoiler-free review as we get into this. Now, as I was saying, The Boy from 2016, we are following Lauren Cohan, who is playing a nanny, essentially, who comes to England to escape a troubled past, I will say. You learn more about that as the film progresses. But she comes here to watch The Boy. Well, of course, if you've seen the trailer for this, you understand that the boy is this statue here, not a statue, he's a doll named Brahms. And so she goes to this giant mansion, this beautiful house, meets the parents of this little boy, and of course it's a doll, and things are that's just weird, right? And things kind of get weirder from there, because she starts hearing noises throughout the house while she's alone, and things start moving, and is Brahms alive? Like, what's happening here? So that's kind of what you're getting with this one, and I don't want to go any deeper than that because, again, I don't want to spoil it. This is a film that, like I said, I really enjoyed it the first time I saw it, and I was utterly shocked by how this movie played out. And that's the idea here, right? Like, they don't want you to know where things are going, and I think they did that my first time through exceptionally well. Now, on repeat viewings, what's going on may be obvious as you're watching through this, and some people probably know what's going on here. I sure didn't my first time through, and it just shocked me how this thing played out, and I loved it. First off, I love creepy doll movies. I talk about Slappy from Night of the Living Dummy all the time. Goosebumps, love it so much. And that's kind of what started my love of the creepy doll. And then from there, there's movies like Magic, which is a really good film. There's Pinocchio's Revenge, a TV movie from back in the day that I was terrified by. There's a number of them, but those are the big 3 that I always think of when I think of creepy dummy movie. But let's talk first about Lauren Cohan, because she is excellent in this. She is our leading character. She is best known, of course, for her work in The Walking Dead. That's how I knew her before I went to go see The Boy. And she plays this role so well. She's basically acting alongside a dummy for the majority of the film, yet there are so many emotions that she goes through, and I think as a viewer, you really go through those with her. As we learn more about her story and her background, it kind of makes a little bit more sense why she does some of the things she does throughout this film, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. I loved learning her backstory throughout the progression of the film. Alongside her is Rupert Evans, and I think he is awesome in this role. You know what? I always hold these up for the entirety of the review. There's no point. You know what I'm talking about. You've been here long enough, so I'm going to set it down. But anyway, Rupert Evans, I think, is so good in this. Now, I feel like he's a very well-known actor, but I've not seen him in a ton of different things. And so this is really what I know him best from. And I think he does such a great job with this because it's obvious that, you know, there's some kind of connection going on between him and Greta, which is Lauren Cohen's character. And I love how they play that up because it's never creepy, it's never forced. It just feels like kind of a natural development as the film goes on, and I really like that. There's a moment in the beginning of the film where they literally have just met, and he's doing his attempt at flirting, and he says he can like read people's backstory or their history by reading their gum, right? Instead of being a palm reader, he's a gum reader. So she takes out the gum and puts it in his hand, and he's like looking at the gum. I just think it's such a charming moment because it's a great moment that establishes these two characters together and really is the springboard for where the relationship is going to go from there. So I think they are awesome together. Their on-screen chemistry is great. They're both just obviously beautiful people. And so it's very clear why there's an instant chemistry when they walk into the room the first time. And I really like that because in a lot of horror movies, or frankly, a lot of rom-coms even, you just get that rushed feeling with the relationships and it's hard to believe some of them. But here, I bought in and I believed it and I really enjoyed that. I don't even think I've mentioned yet, but The Boy is directed by William Brent Bell, who I've seen a number of other films from, and I love him as a director. First, I saw him with his film called Stay Alive, which is this awesome, underrated horror film from like the mid-2000s. I don't remember the exact year, but it's about this video game that essentially starts killing people in real life. It is such a cool film. I wish they had a boutique Blu-ray of that one, but as far as I know, without doing any research prior to this, I don't think there's a Blu-ray release of that. I know I only own the DVD of it, but such an awesome movie. So that's how I first met him. And most recently, he did Orphan First Kill, which frankly, I think is a better movie than the original Orphan. I really liked that one. I watched it at the beginning of 2023 when I was doing all of my 2022 catch-up videos. So there's a review here on the channel for that one if you're interested. But just a great film. And his eye for direction, I think, is awesome. And along with him, we also get Daniel Pearl as the cinematographer of this film. Now, that name might not be familiar to you. If it wasn't to me, to be honest with you, until I was watching some of the special features. And that's when I realized that Daniel Pearl started off his filming career as a cinematographer, being the cinematographer behind the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Dude was only in his early 20s when he did that. I want to say like 22, super young. But that's an iconic horror film. And the fact that they get him in this is amazing. It's interesting in the special features, they talk about how Daniel Pearl has this reputation about being difficult to work with, but William Brent Bell was like, I don't care, we're using him. And fortunately, they have him in here. And because of that, he just elevates the whole film. This thing looks awesome. They used a couple different mansions, like a mansion and a castle, basically, in England in order to film this, but it's seamlessly brought together with the editing. There's a moment at the end where we get the gates, which is actually at the very beginning of the film and the end of the film, and just the way they overtake the screen, I think, is so intelligent. And again, that's just a nod to how good Daniel Pearl is at his craft. It is amazing to see. So I think adding Daniel Pearl to this, along with an excellent director, how can you miss? I think this movie doesn't get... I don't think people love this film, to be honest with you. And I was shocked to see that this one was coming out from Scream Factory. But I think they did this film justice. And not only does it just look awesome with the cinematography, but the 4K really adds to it, which I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to talk about that yet. But just the movie itself, it is creepy. It is quiet when it needs to be, and it works so well. The way that they handle the doll, and again, shout out to Daniel Pearl's work on this, it almost feels like the doll is changing facial expressions throughout this film, and it's so creepy. The way the light hits him, they talk about this in the features as well, special features, the way the light hits him when you just turn the camera is incredible. There's a moment in the film where that happens, and it's so creepy. Now, again, creepy dolls are my thing. I love them. They creep me out. So I love that aspect of them. They might not be for you, though. And if not, you might not get a kick out of this film like I did. But clearly, this is one that I thoroughly enjoy. And I think the acting mixed with that incredible direction and that camera work by Daniel Pearl, it is just a recipe for a super, frankly, underrated horror film, which I know I kind of feel like I said that last week with Amityville Horror. But whenever you watch special features, as I mentioned last week, you just appreciate the film more, and that's exactly what happened here. Like, I think this is a genuinely good horror film. Now, the first time I watched it, I did give it 4 out of 5 stars because I was blown away by the way things played out here. Now that I know how this film goes, I've seen it multiple times now, when you're watching the beginning, it might be a little more obvious where things are going, and it doesn't quite hit the same way. So, no fault of the film itself, but I don't know that this is a movie that holds up on repeat viewings very well. I do think there's a lot to appreciate every time I watch it, but really the kind of wow factor of this is lost once you've seen it one time. So definitely a movie you want to watch only spoiler-free reviews of, if you watch any at all, if you haven't seen it. But one that I thoroughly recommend and think is a lot better than it really gets credit for at this point. Now, fortunately, it did well enough that a sequel was made, which actually I have that sitting next to me right now because I ended up watching this last night because I was so intrigued on where in the world they were going to go with this story. Because again, if you've seen it, you probably know why I'm wondering that. And so I just had no idea where things were going to go. So I watched this one. Stay tuned for a episode of Recent Watches or Shelf Space, whatever I do, where I'll talk about that one. But yeah, William Brent Bell, excellent director. Awesome acting throughout this. So without getting into any spoiler territory, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think you should see this film if you haven't already. I don't know that you're going to love it, but maybe it'll hit you in the same way that it did me, at least on that first time through. So this is now my 3rd viewing of The Boy. Keep that in mind when I give you my final score here, but I really enjoy this movie. So I am going to give The Boy from 2016 3.5 out of 5 stars. Alright, so let's talk about the disc itself here. So Scream Factory is presenting this 4K from the original film elements. So that is a new transfer here, and it looks awesome. I'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But on top of that, it also has a Dolby Atmos audio track, which is new from the original Blu-ray, which only had the DTS HD 5.1 master audio track, which is also present on here if you'd rather that version of it. But I'll start with the audio on this because I find that this is a film that has excellent sound engineering. The way that it uses that surround sound, I think, is very intelligent. There's moments where Lauren Cohen's character, Greta, is standing at like a mirror or something, and we hear something from back over here. And I think the way the use of the surround sound system is great. This was originally done in a Dolby Atmos track, if I'm not mistaken, from what I saw on IMDb. And I remember it sounded great in theaters, and it sounds awesome on my home stereo system. If you have even a better setup, a higher, more expensive setup than I have, you'll probably appreciate it even more. But I just feel that the way that the audio uses spatial cues is fantastic. So loved the Dolby Atmos audio track on this one. I think it is absolutely worth an upgrade if you do enjoy the Dolby Atmos sound. On the video side, this is really where it stands out to me because, again, I watched the Blu-ray on this for the audio commentary, and the 4K I watched is where I watched the film itself. And so you could see the difference. Even though they're both sourced from that new 4K presentation from the original film elements, you can absolutely see the difference in the two. So this is one. Now, I can't speak to this Blu-ray specifically because, again, this one's not open. The last time I watched this on Netflix, this is a significantly better presentation from what my memory tells me. The detail that you get in the dark scenes, because a lot of this movie is taking place at night and there's a lot of just black elements throughout, dark elements, and the detail on the 4K with that Dolby Vision is fantastic. I think it just looks spectacular. You just lose a lot of that with the Blu-ray disc. And so this is just another example of why 4K is such an awesome format. The way they're able to handle that Dolby Vision looks fantastic. Now, that said, it's a super dark film, so you're not going to get a lot of popping with the color, but what's there, I think, looks really good. So super impressed by the AV side of this disc. And I didn't mention it last week, but as I try to always say, this is a super layman's look at the AV side of this disc, but I was incredibly impressed by this. I think the upgrade from, again, the previous time I watched this on Netflix is notable and absolutely worth it if you're interested in this film at all. Let's talk now about the reason I purchased this disc, and that's for the special features on here. So if you take a look at the original Blu-ray release, unfortunately, there are no special features. This thing is completely bare bones. So if you want any special features, you do have to go with the collector's edition here, fortunately, of Scream Factory's release. So I'll talk first about the special feature that I liked the least. I mentioned last week, and I always mention it, I'm not much of an audio commentary track guy. I am turning a little bit on that, though. I am starting to enjoy those more. Last week, I loved the Ryan Reynolds and producers commentary track. That is exactly what I look for in an audio commentary track. I want behind the scenes. I want to know why this was done, why it was done that way. I want to know those types of things. Here, we get a couple film critics. We get Emily Higgins and Julia Cunningham. Now, Emily Higgins is familiar because she was on another audio commentary track that I reviewed, but Julia Cunningham was new to me. And they're both podcasters, and let me just say, I won't be running out to listen to their podcast. The audio commentary track on here just felt very amateurish, I guess I would say. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they both know a heck of a lot more about the film industry, horror movies, and The Boy than I do, but you didn't get a lot of that knowledge in here. There are some interesting tidbits scattered throughout, but a lot of the time they're just kind of talking like friends watching through the movie. There's a lot of dead space too, which I thought was really weird that for whatever reason, whoever designed this didn't turn up the volume of the film at those points. Because there are notable, maybe 10, 15-second chunks where there's just no commentary going on between the two, and it's silent. For me, it wasn't any good, but if you are a fan of either of these women, you probably enjoyed it, or you probably will enjoy it, I should say. But for me, no, didn't do it for me. The ones that did, though, were all of the interviews. So there is an interview here, my favorite one, with the director himself, William Brent Bell. That one is the longest, I want to say somewhere around 20 minutes, maybe a little less. And he has this awesome hat. I took a picture of it, so you're probably seeing that now. But he has this incredible hat from The Boy that I need to find because I think that thing looks awesome. But along with that hat, you also get some really good behind-the-scenes information here. That's how, I learned about the fact that the cinematographer is not very easy to work with, or that's what his reputation is, and things like that. So just really good tidbits thrown throughout. And again, you're talking, 2016, you're talking almost 10, well, no, not 10, about 8 years later, right? And so they're just willing to be more open about things. And I think he does an awesome job with this interview. Along with that, we do get Daniel Pearl in here, which I think was really cool. Now, unfortunately, his interview was only like 5 to 8 minutes. And out of all the interviews, the longest is the one with the director. Everything else is under 10 minutes. Most of them are under 9 minutes. The shortest one is with the doll handler. What's her name? Tanis Hegan. That one's only about 5-6 minutes. But every one of these interviews, I think, is worthwhile if you're a fan of the film. They do kind of tread on a lot of the same territory as we go through it. They all talk about the fact that there were 3 different dolls throughout the filmmaking process and everything like that. But still, I think they just have interesting things to say about the film that if you're a fan, you'll get a kick out of. And the other interview that I haven't mentioned is with the doll designer, who is somebody else who had a long and flourishing, continuing career in this industry. And so you just have good individuals that made this movie, and because of that, you have a good film here, in my opinion. So I really liked the special features on this release. I think they are absolutely worth your time if you're a fan of the film, and it's again that fact where I watch the movie, and then I watch the special features, and then I appreciate the film even more after I'm done with the special features. So I could have done without the commentary track, or better yet, I could have done with William Brent Bell doing a commentary track, but I think what we do have here is really well done. So this is a release that really sold me thanks to the special features. I wasn't going to pick it up, as I talked about in my anticipated releases video, but I decided, you know what, I want to see this in 4K, and I want to see all the special features that were included, and they didn't disappoint. I thought they were great, again, excluding that one, but that's just not for me, but it could be for other people. The AV side of this is excellent. The Dolby Vision presentation looks phenomenal, and the audio, the sound engineering on this Dolby Atmos, I think is wonderful. So the AV side of the disc is great, the special features are great, and the movie, absolutely worth your time if you are a fan of this genre. I think this is a great release from Scream Factory, and they're going to do it again. I am going to give The Boy on 4K from Scream Factory 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, so those were my thoughts on another Scream Factory 4K release, another one that I upgraded in my collection, and I'm very happy to own it on the best format possible right now. So let me know down in the comments below, are you planning on picking this one up? Do you even like this movie? Am I the only one who still enjoys this film? Let me know what your thoughts are on this review and anything else down in the comments below. Is there anything else coming out from Scream Factory that you'd like to hear me review, or other companies? I don't know why. I've done, I think, 3 4K reviews from Scream Factory in a row here in terms of my standalone 4K reviews, which is kind of ridiculous, but hey, that's where my money's going, so that's what I'm going to talk about. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are on this and anything else down in the comments. Before you guys take off, if you could just hit that like button, that engagement really does help me out. And before you go, I'll just encourage you all to consume some media today. Thank you again for checking this video out. If you made it all the way to the end, I really do appreciate you. But that's going to do it, guys. So again, thanks, and I will catch you all next time.